So, when I made my previous video, I was expecting it to be like a one off, like, hey, new manga, just want to show it to y'all. But, I don't know. I've been inspired, you could say, to keep on going. So, we're gonna do, some chapter reviews. We start off with just a compound, overrun by flowers, of course, because everything in Tokyo is overrun by flowers. And the first thing that we see is a man who is set for termination. He isn't a fully bloomed Jinka yet. He's just a guy with a few flowers sticking out of him. But once you reach this point, there's really no way to go back except for the special case of Kingo or his sister Hayato. So this person, he's done. It's over for him. He goes to burn. He begs to live, and they're just like, "Listen, man. I hope that in the next life you never have to come by another Jinka." And we just get this like kind of nice art. I mean, it's not amazing art. I think this one's a little bit scribbly. I'm not a huge fan of it. But this guy is just completely burnt up. Then we see a scientist talking about his specimens and talking about this new person he has. And who is it? But of course, Kingo, who is alive somehow. Obviously, we know that it's because Hayato went inside of his body, and he's set to be burned. He wakes up, he's freaking out, he's like, "Where am I?" Everyone's like, "Listen, your sister is inside of you," and he's like, what are you talking about?" Then he gets a flashback to the previous chapter where he remembers that his sister, defeated all of the agents nearby and saved his life by going inside of him. Although I doubt he remembers that part. And so he's set to burn at this point. He straight up gets told by the chief, like, "Yo, we're gonna kill you." But the scientist is like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, why would you kill him? It doesn't make sense. He can be experimented on. He seems to be some kind of special kind of Jinka." But the officer, he does not give a fudge. He's no shits about it. We're killing him. It's not yes or no. And Kingo is just like, "Honestly, just do it. I don't care about living anymore. I failed as a big brother. The only thing I wanted to do was to make her life well and to take her to a family restaurant. I couldn't even keep my promise. I must be a terrible brother. Just kill me." So they get set out to go do it. They're taking him to the execution chamber where he's going to get burned up. But luckily, right as it happens, one of the guards, it turns out, is a Jinka. And he blooms, destroying the entire building, which is crazy. Like, we've seen some Jinka sprout and be huge. This man is towering. The man literally destroyed the entire factory just from blooming. At that point, he then eats the officer that wanted him dead, and the scientist lets Kingo go and is like, "Yo, you need to escape." And Kingo's like, "Why? What would be the point in me escaping? I'm a failed brother." And the scientist is like, "Listen, I had an older brother too. He was one of these guards, and he was eaten by a Jinka. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day because you still need to live the life that you're living." He's like, there's a huge pain about losing a family member, but it doesn't matter because you are still alive. Your sister wouldn't have wanted you to die, just like my brother wouldn't have wanted me to die. So you need to go out there and continue living your life. And he's telling him to just completely escape. He's helping him run away from the facility. At this moment, he's like, he's still not sure about it. He's like, "I don't know." And then the scientist gets eaten by the Jinka that sprouted. Now, that normally would be the point where your main character runs. Your main character dips at this time. But no, he immediately gets eaten by the Jinka as well. But luckily for him, he hears Kayato's voice. In the void, he hears her, and he finally blooms, thus setting him free and rescuing the scientist. This is where the chapter ends. I think it's a pretty decent chapter. It's a little short. It was very flashback heavy, as though we didn't read the first chapter. But overall, it was a still pretty decent chapter. I thought the art wasn't as good in this one. Some of it is really nice. Like, I also really like the color spread. The color spreads in general in this are great. But I will say that, like, overall, I think the art downgraded a decent bit in this one. Although I am still excited for the story. Hopefully the next chapter, like, has a little bit more going on. Like, this chapter is 47 pages, but the backstory takes up like 15 of those pages. And, like, bro, we just saw that. Like, you're literally just rehashing what we just saw last chapter. So it was a little much, but I am excited to see where this is going. Let's see where this continues, and I hope that you guys will come back for the next chapter review next week. Aha! You've been duped, tricked, Zambini'd. In reality, this video has a second part. That's right, we're doing chapter 3 as well. I was recently talking to a friend, and we had decided that it'd probably be a good idea for me to do chapter reviews, especially since I like chapter 1 so much, and chapter 2 was pretty good too. So this is what I'm doing from now on. Obviously, the chapter 2 video took too long for me to do. Not that it was difficult or anything, I am just dumb. So now we are doing chapter 3 and chapter 2 together. Hope you guys like it. Let's jump right into chapter 3. Alright, so this chapter starts off with a new friend you'll all come to know as Maki waking up in a van. He looks over to see Kingo guzzling some of that good slurp juice, where he remarks on how thirsty he's feeling. They begin to discuss on what happened to them in the last chapter, how they were both eaten and now they're fine because Kingo bloomed and killed everything. Maki decides to get real nice and handsy with Kingo's arm and praising him for being alive, but Kingo don't swing that way, plus Kayano really did most of the heavy lifting. Hearing this, Maki comes to the realization that Kayano's probably alive inside of Kingo. Worried this might look like some kind of incest, Kingo decides to make her human again. Maki, ever the warrior ward, theorizes this would probably kill him, but if he doesn't fear death, then there's an exposition plant in Tokyo Tower that might be his best bet to make the plan work. While they discuss this possibility, Sexy Plant Investigator decides to mind their business. Understanding that he's the MC and therefore has plot armor, Kingo's already decided to head out to beat up Plant Mommy, and despite Maki's protest, he comes along for the ride too. 2 steps into their adventure, a little girl blocks their path. Not knowing any speedrun strats, they decided to follow the quest line. She requires food for her starving mom. Having just committed mass genocide and being on the run, they're a little strapped for cash and food, but luckily Kingo has his plot coin, which he hands to her to go buy some. Being underleveled for the grocery store, she asks to play co-op. Always being one to show up his gamer skills, Kingo obliges. Little did Kingo know that she was part of the dungeon herself, and now he's trapped in a boss encounter. Being grossly overleveled for such an encounter, Kingo breaks the AI of the boss, making her beg for her life, and even offering to share Maki and the little girl. Still not swinging that way, and being ever the pedo killer, he snatches her heart and is rewarded with 10,000 souls. Realizing this would probably look pretty bad to the cops and not wanting to go back to jail, they bail out and go to safety. Little did they know they were playing online the whole time and got invaded by an endgame level character.